Hey everyone, thanks for joining here with Mark. Really interesting video. Going to talk about carbon credits and how SusGlobal plays within that industry a little bit and kind of give some more details. But first things first, Mark, how are you?
Good, very good, Jason. Always a pleasure.
Yeah, good, awesome. I know we were chatting some Squid Game stuff. I know you're just about to catch on to the hype and give it a shot, but I know definitely the hot topic. But let's
Good,
dive into
good.
carbon credits a little. Do you
Sure,
want to maybe introduce carbon credits, or at least your view on them, and then we'll talk about how Sus Global is planning to play.
sure. So actually, carbon credits are one of the revenue streams for SusGlobal. So of course, the first revenue stream are the tipping fees that we receive from the municipalities when they bring in the feedstock, the organic waste streams. The second revenue stream, of course, are the regenerative products that we produce. So whether it's an organic uh, dry compost or our award-winning liquid fertilizer. And then, of course, the third revenue stream are the carbon credits. Now, and all this part of our circular economy initiative that we have, it's part of our model. So in terms of carbon credits, it's important for our model is based on diversion from landfill. It's important that we divert these organic streams from landfill. Many states and many provinces are legislating no more landfilling organic waste. Now, it's ideal for SusGlobal because everything is audited, and now we have third-party auditors that audit exactly how many tons per annum we're diverting from landfill, and then they have their formula as to how many tons of carbon we're reducing and the greenhouse gas emissions that we're reducing as part of the climate change initiative. So we've been working with a voluntary market right now, and we'll be capturing our carbon credits. And we've been very fortunate because we're able to capture some of the back years that we've been in operation, because we have been in operation since September of 2017. So that's 4 years of credits. So those will be reflected in our year-end 10K report. So we're very excited because, of course, we're actually capturing them, monetizing them, and right now on a voluntary basis. So the per ton carbon credits are lower, but we eventually will graduate to a mandatory or a more sophisticated marketplace where you obtain $50 a ton, and we know that there's even discussion that by 2030 it'll be $150 per carbon credit. So we're very excited about that. It's important to us. And we are going to be able to monetize this. I think the marketplace is going to see that as a very as a great achievement, certainly, and part of our initiative of our climate change initiative.
Yeah, and I think you covered a big point there, and I'll let you talk more about it. Right now, obviously, a lot of the kind of carbon credit market is voluntary, but and I don't think you do either, see that lasting for too much longer. Moving to a mandatory, type process. You're seeing a lot of, especially Canada, putting, hey, once COVID is a little bit more, settled down, nothing is more on our plate than green and being sustainable. And I want to kind of throw that back to what do you see timeline wise? You talk about 2030, but when needs to happen to move from voluntary to mandatory, in your opinion?
Well, I think first of all, I think just across the board globally, I think everyone is behind on meeting certain climate change initiatives. I mean, there's no doubt that Canada is unfortunately one of those countries that is not meeting the objectives on a timely basis. But our model is to divert organic waste streams from landfill to reduce greenhouse gas emissions, and that's important to us. Diversion from landfill. Landfills are engineered not to last. They have a certain lifespan, and they don't last forever. So in terms of legislating diverting from landfill, that probably once that takes place, I think the carbon credits will eventually be eliminated. But we prefer to see legislation where no longer allowing organic waste to be landfill, because then all the municipalities and all the haulers are going to be scrambling to find infrastructure to process these organic waste streams. And we have we have the infrastructure, we have the facilities, and we have the environmental compliance approval licenses, which have, that as a significant intrinsic value to those. Because, for example, I mean, you can't, one of our facilities, 49 acres, 120,000 metric tons per annum is the environmental compliance license approval. You can't just buy 49 acres adjacent to us and think you're going to open another waste processing facility. So, there is that barrier to entry. It's important, but we'd rather see legislation that bans landfilling organic waste. That benefits SusGlobal more than actual carbon credits, whether they're voluntary or not. In the overall, when you do the numbers, we'd rather be at full capacity, processing 120,000 tons per annum based on the tipping fee. I think that outweighs all the carbon credits that you can probably generate.
Yeah, no, and it's just interesting to see that it's, an additional stream. And I think it's the same thing we talked about Tesla very quickly before I hit record. I mean, this is a good segment. Like, obviously, it's extremely interesting because Tesla is, of course, doing well. That being said, it's nowhere close to how much they're doing in car sales, right? So it's just an interesting, obviously, it's a green, sustainable thing that people expect the price to increase. And then on the other side, obviously, it's another angle, it's another revenue stream. And I think it's extremely interesting. You guys are able to go back, through your auditors and really see proof of, hey, this is how much we're saving. We're going to obviously get carbon credits for it. So incredible. I think it's a pretty unique story. Anything you want to kind of talk about? I know I used Tesla as a, kind of as a comparison, but do you want to chat about that at all?
Well, again, first time Tesla showed a profit was because of the carbon credits that they collect. But at the end of the day, they got to be able to sell cars. So it's like SusGlobal. At the end of the day, we have to have the infrastructure and the tonnage, the feedstock, to be able to process, 120,000 tons at our first facility, 65,000 tons at our second facility, total of 185,000 tons per annum in our regional model. So we have a facility in the western part of the province, and then the eastern part of the province, and you've got about 200 kilometers in between. You've got the GTHA, which is the Greater Toronto Hamilton area, highest density population in all of Canada. And that's the idea, to export this model to other municipalities in North America. And where our objective is in 2023 to set up these facilities in the state of Florida. Florida is the ideal environment for what we do. They've got significant amount of organic waste, and then we produce the regenerative products to go back into agriculture. So this is, again, it's more important to be able to process and divert from landfill and process those organic waste, so we reduce the greenhouse gas emissions. If we have those tipping fees and produce the regenerative products as part of the circular economy model, we'll generate enough revenues that we don't, it's the carbon credits are not that significant. Of course, it motivates emitters to reduce their emission because they have to buy these carbon credits from us. But again, it's the carbon credits, we're going to be able to collect them for as long as we can. And eventually, when there are states, there are provinces that have legislated no more landfilling organic waste, and I see that in the far future, that's going to be across the board, that type of legislation. But at that point, if they do ban, then what will happen, as I mentioned earlier, municipalities and haulers will be scrambling to find infrastructure and facilities to be able to process those streams. And we have the facilities.
Yeah. No, look, I hear you loud and clear. Extremely interesting model. I know a lot of people asking some good questions, and I'm sure we'll do a Q&A video here around the corner. But obviously, carbon credits were a hot topic. Definitely wanted to get it in. I think it's a pretty interesting angle, obviously, as an addition. to what you guys are already doing. And I think you said it extremely well. You got to still, if you're Tesla, sell cars, and here you guys still obviously be able to process, the you gotta be able to process what's coming through the plant, right? So it makes sense. And I think you guys have a great model. And as you see Canada moving a lot of this legislation, like you said, it's definitely moving towards people racing to find people like SusGlobal, which is great. But let's introduce anyone with questions around carbon credits or around the process, general kind of landscape. Please drop it below. We'll do a little Q&A video. Anything else, Mark, you wanted to get in here?
Well, again, the ECAs, the environmental compliance approval licenses, there's a significant intrinsic value, for us and for our facilities. And so again, barrier to entry in the market, and they're important to us. We're getting higher values as they become, more. The Ministry of the Environment is not issuing these to everyone and anyone. I think we've been in operations for 4 years. We've demonstrated that we're able to run these facilities. And at the end of the day, we're here to produce fertilizers. This is what SusGlobal's main revenue source will be. The fertilizer market is a $200 billion per annum marketplace. And then there's a subset market of the organic fertilizer market growing at a CAGR of 11.3% to $19 billion. And that's really what we want to do. So we have the feedstock, we're getting paid to take in the feedstock, and then we're producing these organic fertilizers and selling into that marketplace. So that, just to be clear, that's really our model, and we're executing that plan to become a prominent fertilizer producer. And organic fertilizer. Look, there's a big demand now for organic products. As we know, we all shop at Whole Foods. 50% of cannabis demand now is for organic cannabis. And to grow organic cannabis, you have to use organic fertilizer, no chemicals. So that's really where our marketplace is. That's what we're looking to do: drive revenues in the fertilizer production. We don't use any biosolids, we don't use chemicals, so purely organic, and that's a big market now in the fertilizer, that
Yeah.
subset market.
And only growing, and maybe we'll do a little industry kind of chat on organic fertilizers and kind of where we see it going. Some bigger competitors, or at least bigger players in the market, and massive market, like you said, closing in on 20 billion, with the B. So incredible. But Mark, thanks for joining. I know kind of segued from obviously carbon credits to some other kind of, I guess, revenue angles that some people aren't too aware of, that we'll definitely cover in more detail. So thanks so much.
You're welcome, Jason. Always a pleasure.